This was all about the Walt Disney Company trying to gaslight Disney investors. They were going to charge roughly $50 a month. Renegade Online. This is what we're talking about. I told y'all so. I've been saying this for months since this stupid thing broke. And like Pro brought up a second ago, this was all about the Walt Disney Company trying to gaslight Disney investors, Disney shareholders, Wall Street, gaslighting them into, we know our company looks like poo right now, but we're going to make it a little less stinky in a year or two. And here's one of the things, right? They throw $1.5 billion at Epic Games for Fortnite. They throw out $60 billion for improving parks and resorts around the world. And we're just now getting a glimpse of what they're finally going to do in Orlando after they announced a year ago they were spending this much money. And they refused to say anything about what they would do in Walt Disney World. And we told you why. It's because Disney got engaged with a legal fight in Florida that they were never going to win. By the way, again, hashtag Renegade was right. We told you Disney could not win that fight, and they didn't. Even all the pixie dusters out there smoking crack thought they would and love to chide people like me and Pro and Tom and everybody else out there who was on the right side of things on X with all their little bot accounts. People like Master the TDS have completely exposed as fraudulent. Here's another one. The Fubo thing, where Fubo has filed basically for an injunction to prevent Venu, VENU, sports from going forward. The JV, joint venture, between the Walt Disney Company, ESPN, Warner Brothers, and Fox Television, Fox Sports, who was going to make a streaming sports conglomerate. Okay, they were going to charge roughly $50 a month starting off, maybe $45. I don't remember. It would be over $50 a month within the first year, I promise you. The problem with this, like we told everybody months ago when this stupid thing was announced, that was absolutely going to get legally destroyed, and now it's happening. We didn't know if they had the papal blessing from the sports leagues like the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, NHL, going down the list, because they would have to basically renegotiate contracts in order to allow that to happen. We said that the Federal Trade Commission and perhaps the Federal Communication Commission would have to step in and get involved for broadcasting and monopoly and antitrust issues. The problem is that, of course, it doesn't include all the sports because you leave two major, and I mean super major, sports rights contract holders out. Comcast, NBC Universal, and Paramount. And I know Paramount is going through a lot of strife right now for obvious reasons. They had a big issue this week. We didn't really get to talk about it Wednesday with the whole shutting down of Paramount TV studios, basically consolidating it in with CBS television studios. I get it. It makes sense. This is more of an administrative issue to not have two CEOs, two CFOs, two different departments basically trying to generate very similar content. I get all that. But probably the most valuable thing still at Paramount right now, by far, is their sports broadcasting contracts, namely with the NFL. CBS owns half of the NFL. Fox owns the other half. So Fox is part of this joint venture who would have the NFC. So if you're NFC North, South, East, West fan, you watch your games on Fox like I do, New Orleans Saints. All right. If you're an AFC guy, you're watching your games on CBS. They're not part of this. So this was always going to be a big problem. And now there has the brakes have been slammed on this joint venture. I don't know if it ever really gets out of it, short of some major alterations with the existing nature of this. So this is going to be fun to see. We'll keep our eye on it.
Well, I think we're going to be talking a lot about antitrust and who's allowed to do what and all that kind of stuff. Because I have a feeling this Paramount thing is far from being over. We have another,
Oh, yeah.
suitor now that's throwing their hat in the ring. You and I have been adamant that we believe Zaslav has a plan with possibly Ellison to scoop up CBS after the whole thing is said and done.
Now that the NBA seems going.
Yeah, he wants that NFL deal, and I can also see that helping. It also would make sense why they're conglomerating and doing a lot of the stuff on both sides when it comes to television and the cuts they've been making and the way they've been moving things around. Makes me wonder what they're doing, in the sense that, okay, it would make sense if I'm sure there's regulations on how many, different channels you can have of certain varieties, right? So if I've been hearing this rumor for a while that Boomerang might get shut down, and then you had the thing happen to the Cartoon Network website, which again, that's another thing where I'm sure they're cutting costs there, but it makes me wonder, okay, if you're going to be acquiring CBS and Paramount and CBS cable networks, whatever you want to call it, which would be the former Paramount cable networks.
Yeah.
You're going to have Nickelodeon. So what do you need Boomerang for?
Well, that's just...
You might not be able to legally either, is another thing I've been trying to ask somebody who might know that, because I don't know how many stations you can own of a certain variety, because that's the other thing is if that were to happen...
On cable, I don't know if there is any...
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if there is either, because but if Warner does do that and buy out CBS and their cable networks, Warner would be the biggest cable network owner in the world, right? Like they would own more cable channels than anybody. So
they would own more channels, but Disney, I think, would still hold perhaps the top slot in terms of revenue command because of ESPN, because that's what
that's a totally different conversation, right? But that's not what I'm talking about here. I don't know what kind of regulations go into that. That's not my domain. I know more about some FCC stuff, but it has more to do with broadcasting. So yeah,
guys, I've just checked what our haters say on X, and nope, they're unchanged in their opinion based on this. They still say we just make ish up. Sorry, Valiant, you just make it up, man.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
You're really lucky. You're just really, really lucky. I don't know how you roll the dice and land on correct every single time, but your luck's running out. Darn you.
Yeah,
well, and to be clear, we are speculating about the Warner Brothers thing. We don't have anything strong to go on with that. It's just there's a lot of things that are lining up. That is
Warner Brothers is the only one that makes sense buying CBS in terms of a broadcast over-the-air network, because they're the only major player that doesn't have one, and they've already got the infrastructure in place to do the live sports stuff. They're experts at it. So if the NBA contract, which it looks like, they're going to try to take it to court and say, look, the contract says we get the right to make a counteroffer and match. The NBA said you matched, but we don't think it's a match because you guys can't, you guys don't have the streaming power of Amazon, for example. So, I think they know they're going to lose it. And I think that's when they're going to turn around and make a play on CBS, or at least they should, because at that point, if Warner Brothers loses the NBA, their capacity to be a co-equal partner in this joint venture just went out the window. They have other sports contracts, but none of what they have is equivalent of the NBA. So if they lose the NBA, then Fox and Disney would have to sit there and reassess. Well, we don't need you. You're not bringing anything to the table. If they get the other half of the NFL, then absolutely. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.